Hello, I hope all are well. It's Saturday. For me, this week, the energy's been heavy, and to be honest, I have found each day very full. I'm very grateful and humble that I've been able to be of service to others, but at the same time, the energy has been dense, and so this afternoon I'm going to take time to rest. But everyone manages the layers differently, and for me, I always say, when in doubt, walk it out. Harkin and I are going to go on a lake walk this afternoon. And also for me, a strategy when I'm dealing with dense things is to be of service. And over the last couple of nights, I've been writing notes regarding this one world government theory and Fabian society, and I'm very fortunate to be able to have wonderful discourse with others who have been comprehending this for a really long time. And really, it's about the Fabian one world government. I'm not very good at retaining dates and facts. I was never good at history at school. So I have written some notes. I need to refer to the notes because I want to make sure I can get this down in a really linear fashion. And I'm not expecting many to even listen to this today, maybe one or two, and that's fine if you feel aligned. I'm always saying, make a cuppa, make a brew. That's my favourite thing to do. So if you feel aligned, get comfy on your couch and take a listen. And then I would really love you to share your thoughts in the comments to contribute to this conversation. So this share really is about diving deep into something that's been playing out quite slowly and quietly over generations. And it's not a conspiracy theory, it's a strategy. One we were born into, one that's rarely seen. It started before our time because it works best in silence. It's the frog in boiling water method. And this is how it's built the scaffolding of global control. It's actually over not just a decade or two, but over a couple of hundreds of years. So let's dive in. Part 1, the frog in the pot. So you've heard the analogy. If you drop a frog in boiling water, it leaps out. But if you put it in cool water and turn up the heat slowly, it stays. It adjusts until it's too late. And that, friends, is exactly how control has been imposed on man and woman. Not with a whip, not with open dictatorship, but with promises, soft words, clever campaigns. It's been a generational creep. This is not going to be a story of sudden takeover. It's the story of a system that trained us to want our own cages. Part 2. This is when I really rely on my notes because I'm not very good at retaining numbers or dates. So where it all began, it's really between the 17 to the 1800s. We start in the 1700s. Nations were rising, empires were expanding, and with that, obviously, there came rise of power. Central banks. Governments began borrowing from private lenders like the Rothschilds dynasty, entangling entire nations in debt. What do you think paid for the Industrial Revolution? Now pair that with a quiet shift in philosophy. Thinkers started redefining man, not as a divine, not as free, but as a subject of reason, of state, of systems. This was where the soil of social engineering first took place, okay? And beneath the surface of that soil, secret societies were forming, pushing ideas of global unity, one world governance, and a shift from natural self-determination to collective control. Part 3, a bit more in the history archives. This is the Fabian move between the 1800s and the 1900s. In 1884, the Fabian Society was born in Britain. Their philosophy: don't rush revolution. Use education. Use bureaucracy. Use time. Change the world slowly so no one fights back. Their symbol was a tortoise, and for a time, even a wolf in sheep's clothing. Symbolism much? Instead of confronting capitalism head on, they infiltrated institutions, systems, and processes, schools, media, unions, political parties, all in the guise of keeping us safe. They actually helped build the Labour Party back in the day in the UK and laid the foundations for modern welfare states and global socialism under the banner of equality and care. But care became control. Next up, we're going to look at the global structures of the mid-1900s. And yes, for those who don't like history lessons, let's just get over this peak of important dates in history so we can move on to the meat and potatoes here. Structures of the mid-1900s. So after 2 world wars, the world was exhausted. Enter the United Nations, a one-world framework dressed as peacekeeping. Then came the World Bank, the IMF, the WHO, centralised finance and health across borders. Mass media, funded by philanthropic foundations, began shaping public opinion globally. Public schooling was standardised, history rewritten, words like global citizenship replaced community and kinship. A web of agreements, regulations, and treaties were slowly drawn around every nation. And what happened to the frog? Well, the frog is still adjusting. Part 5, digital ties and sleeping masses. This will bring us up to date to the present day, from the 2000s to now. Fast forward to beyond the year 2000, we welcomed smartphones, Wi-Fi, digital ID, cashless payments. We celebrated convenience. Humans are lazy, while forgetting what it cost. The boiling point came in 2020. We all know it. A global emergency gave rise to lockdowns, surveillance, health mandates, digital QR tracking, and the rollout of, and I've got these in inverted commas, emergency powers across the planet. We were told this is temporary, but the structures stayed. CBDCs, facial recognition, pandemic treaties, carbon passports, and still, the frog didn't leap. Why? Because we were told it was for our safety, for the greater good of the planet. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? So part 6. Why does this pot feel so comfortable to sit in? I'm not too comfortable with it. but the masses seem to be quite comfy. So, let's be real. Most people don't want to believe what I've just shared because the boiling pot has things like Uber Eats takeaway. It has Netflix. It has credit scores. And it has so much digital dopamine. Love the stuff. The system doesn't conquer by force. It seduces. And as the heat rises, we trade autonomy for comfort, choice for convenience, self-determination for perceived safety. That's the Fabian method. That is the boiling water. I always say, though, let's focus on what we can do, not what we can't do. So what can we contribute? What can we do to remedy this? That's part 7. And potatoes, part 7. The remedy. What do we do? What now? You don't fight boiling water by screaming at the pot. What do? You freaking get out. However, you need to have discernment, precision, and sole authority. What do I mean by that? Well, I have spent many hours lying awake in bed at night, diving down rabbit holes, doing research over a long period of time, and I've been listening. I've been listening to many men and women, and from that, I'm so humbled that I've been able to learn and grow so much through many men and women's knowledge and wisdom. From that, I've thought about this, and I call it the Remedy Trilogy. It's 3 protective layers to secure your essence, your assets, and your energetic birthright. These are just my own humble thoughts, and I believe we need to walk this, not just talk it, not just eloquently speak it, but we need to be breathing it. So number 1, protect the dead entity, the debtor, the capital letter fiction. That name in all caps on the birth certificate. That is the created entity, the debtor, the artificial construct. It's not you, but it's being used as you. It still exists. That birth certificate still exists. We can't ignore it. We really can't even reconvey from it. We can't move to our own little micronation. We can't get a shuttle to Privacy Planet. So let's focus on what we can do. And sometimes we need to use the system against the system. So let's protect that all caps name lawfully through a properly filed Uniform Commercial Code process. And I say the word properly because, especially over the last 6 months, we've seen remedies and sensationalism that really doesn't have true watertight remedy. We need to have a UCC1 financing statement, but that needs to be accompanied by the correct documentation and the correct process. We need to have a security agreement, a power of attorney, a declaration of status and interest as part of that UCC filing documentation. We need to have supporting affidavits. All of that must be then lawfully bound, notarized, but also acknowledged legally within the system. We don't need to do public notices in newspapers. By saying it doesn't make it so, but it does need to be acknowledged by the specific department of the country that you're in. As always, if you want to have a yarn about this isn't my intellectual property. This is what I've learnt from really wise counsel. If you would like to have a yarn, you can always DM me on Instagram, always up for a chat. This secures your priority interest over the debtor entity. It allows you, the living creditor, to take lawful control of what's been used without informed consent. This isn't reconveyancing, and it's not evading, and it's not destroying, but to correct and administer with honour and standing. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I'm just sharing some humble thoughts. Number 2, part of this trilogy remedy is protecting the assets. Trust is the tool. Trust law. Your land, your property, your instruments of value. They are not safe while visible inside the public system, especially using the all caps name from your birth certificate. What's the remedy? A watertight trust structure. And I don't use the word watertight lightly. Not all trusts are the same. What makes a trust powerful is in the definitions and clauses of the trust deed. Not a cookie cutter template, but one that has been drawn up uniquely. Because you are unique. Look at your thumbprint. Unique privacy and confidentiality clauses, explicit jurisdiction boundaries, distinct rules of trustees, settlor roles, built-in protective and mechanisms in equity, and very important, no exposure to statutory reclassification. We need to take into account that GovCorp moves the goalposts all the time. Now, what does this trust do if it is a very well-written trust deed? It removes assets from your personal name while retaining full use and lawful dominion, protected from liens, levies, and administrative claims. Again, you want to have a yarn about this, happy to share. This is not my area of genius, but this just comes from my own learning. The third part of this trilogy is protecting the living, the breathing, the creditor. It is the soul with breath. So when I talk about that, I mean finally protecting you, the real you, the living man or woman, the source of life force living energy. Now that can be done in a number of ways under different structures, including natural law, ecclesiastical law, the law of trust, contract law, and the highest binding instruments under international covenants, treaties, and international law, as long as they've been ratified. This is your realm. This is your own domain. I don't call it living in the private. I don't believe there's such a thing as living in the private while you still have contracts within the public, even if you've reconveyed them, because they still exist. You can't put your head in the sand. We can't move to Privacy Planet, as I just said. This is an alternative jurisdiction of self-governance, but again, you need to make sure that the definitions, that the clauses, that the bylaws are watertight, right? Beyond reach of public interference if constructed and operated properly. So, humbly, these are my own thoughts. This is the Remedy Trilogy. It is not a quick fix. We don't work with rushed energy. But it lays a solid grounding foundation, a layered protection system for this life and the ones after you, with purpose, mission, legacy, being of service. 1. Protect the dead entity. 2. Protect your instruments of value. 3. Protect the living soul. That is the leap out of the pot, in my humble perspective. Closing thoughts. This pot is hot, but there is no lid on the pot yet. It is not sealed yet. You can still jump out, and you're not going to be alone, because there are amazing living men and women already building alternative processes, alternative pathways. Lawful remedy, sustenance, real food, clean water, open minds, critical thinkers. The water may be boiling, but we are waking up. We just need to stay grounded. We need to have conversations. And we need to actually walk this path soul deep with self-determination. And we also need to have discourse and gain insight from those who've really been in the trenches with this. Not just those who are very good at putting word salad into some templates. And I say that out of a duty of care. Join me in the conversation, add to the comments, hit me up for a one-on-one yarn. Always happy to have a chat. Be well.